I can recall as a child tripping over and falling through a glass cabinet, but my memory is of watching myself fall from above and to the side of where this event took place. I can actually see my outraged little face in my memory as I fall. Those were the days. Hundreds of thousands of reports exist about people finding themselves outside their physical bodies, often when sleeping, meditating, or as in my case, during some kind of traumatic event. In the 1950s, events of this nature began happening to businessman Bob Monroe, which greatly disturbed him. He'd go on to document these encounters and become world famous for pioneering the first serious study of the out-of-body experience. The school he set up to do this is more popular today than ever, with all types of technology available to test this phenomenon. But back in the 1950s and 60s, none of this existed. Bob was completely alone in this field of study and had to set up his own experiments in order to determine if A, this was actually a real phenomenon, or B, he was losing his mind, which back then he thought he was. To prove to himself his own sanity, he had to explore consciousness. But some of these experiments by today's standards wouldn't appear all that ethically sound. For instance, in order to prove this wasn't all happening in his head, Bob had to somehow engage the minds of others while out of his body. Tricky. And then he had an idea. On the 15th of August 1963, Bob intended to view the whereabouts of a business acquaintance, a woman whose initials were RW. She had gone on holiday and Bob had no idea where she was. Settling into a relaxed state, he moved out of his body with the intention to go to RW. Bob experienced a sensation of movement, a feeling that he associated with out-of-body travel, before finding himself in a room where RW sat at a table. Now Bob wanted to make her aware of his presence in some way, so they could both later verify the encounter. Moving close to RW, Bob gave her what he intended to be a little pinch. As he did so, she let out a loud scream. Shocked, Bob returned promptly to his body. Bob saw RW the following week and asked her what she had been doing between 3 and 4 p.m. that previous Saturday. Everything she told him matched what he had seen. Then, he asked her about the pinch. Bob reports what happened next. A look of complete astonishment crossed her face. Was that you? She stared at me for a moment, then went into the privacy of my office, turned and lifted, just slightly, the edge of her sweater, where it joined her skirt on her left side. There were 2 brown and blue marks at exactly the spot where I had pinched her. Now for Bob, this was evidence corroborating that what he was experiencing was an actual phenomenon and not a fantasy he had constructed in his mind. It should be noted that, in future experiments of this nature, he did make sure to pinch people more gently. Bob's pioneering work laid the foundation for a science that is now taken very seriously. A decade or so later, his research and methods would be adopted by a young physicist who would go on to thoroughly map the conscious universe, creating a big theory of everything that to this day has yet to be disproven. And you can learn more about that in this video here. Have you ever been out of body? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe for future updates, and thank you for watching.